Hi everyone, it's Lauren. So I wanted to share kind of a Pilates flow sequence with everyone. This is the sort of thing that I do when I just need to roll around and move my body a little bit, get things juiced up and moving. So it could be a warm-up, it could be a little movement snack if you've been sedentary all day. It can be just something you do because you feel like it. There will be some Pilates repertoire here, so definitely some abdominal work, but also just some nice feeling stuff, yeah? So you won't need any equipment. You might want a mat if you have hardwood floor, and at the very end we'll do something where you need to have one of your feet propped up, but a couch, an ottoman, anything, a shelf on a bookshelf will work. So more on that when we get there. We're going to start laying down. So here, laying on your back, I always like to start with some deep breathing. So I'm going to take a few deep breaths in through my nose and out through pursed lips. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about expanding my ribs out to the sides rather than lifting the front of my rib cage up, which would look more like this. You can always bring your hands to your rib cage for a little tactile reinforcement or cueing, feeling where your breath is going. And when I'm breathing really well, I feel the back of my ribs pressing down into the mat as I inhale. Then you bring your hands to your sides. We're going to lift up one leg and then the other. And here we're keeping a neutral spine. So neutral spine, your hip bones, your pubic bone are level with each other. You're not trying to tuck and press your low back into the mat. So we're finding that level pelvis. Arms can press down to give us a little extra support. Shoulders down away from the ears, fingers reaching towards the wall. Deep breath in. And as you exhale, tap the toe. Inhale, lift it back up. And we'll just alternate here. Now, as I go to tap my toe, I'm reaching from the hip, not from the knee. You see the difference here? So my knee angle stays the same, and my hip is opening to reach my foot towards the ground. One more on each side. And then we'll bring both legs down. Then you're going to lift one leg back up. So this leg is going to open out to the side, only as far as I can go without this leg needing to move to counterbalance it. So deep breath in, knee opens out. I have to draw up through my pubic bone to keep tension through my abdominals so that my pelvis doesn't wiggle. And this leg stays straight up. I also want this knee, my moving knee, to stay in line with my hip. So it goes straight out. It's not coming up towards my armpit. And as my knee opens out, my opposite side of my waist has to work really hard to keep myself from twisting. So if my right knee is opening out to the side, my left waist has to contract really hard to hold it stable. And we'll switch sides. So now my left leg is up. As my left knee opens out, the right side of my waist is contracting. I'm working with my breath, so exhaling every time I open, inhaling to lift it back up. Let's do two more. And then I'm going to put my feet down. I'm going to reach my arms up towards the ceiling. So here, thinking about keeping my ribs nice and connected. So the back of my rib cage, the base of my ribs is trying to stay down on the mat. If your ribs don't touch the mat, just think about, imagine if there was a magnet from your ribs to the mat, so there's something pulling them down even if they don't touch. And I'm going to do a scissor arm. So one arm is going to come to my ear, the other arm comes to my hip. Inhale and exhale to switch. So as I'm doing this motion, I'm still paying attention to my ribs because I don't want myself hiking from side to side. That might look like this, letting this side of my waist get longer, letting my rib pop up. I want this part here at the base of my ribs to stay still. My fingers are active, energized, and reaching. And I'm still breathing. Then, with them straight up, I'm going to open one arm out to the side and lift it back up. Exhale, open out, and up. And here, I have that same thing going on through the sides of my waist as I did with my legs when my legs were opening out to the side. So when one arm opens out to the side, the opposite side of your waist has to work harder in order to stabilize your rib cage. We'll do one more on each side. And my arms can come back down to rest. I'm going to float my right leg back up, knee over the hip. And now this leg is going to extend. I like to flex my foot, thinking about reaching my heel towards the wall. And inhale, drop back, my toe can point. Exhale, reach. Inhale, back. If the foot choreography is confusing, forget about it. It doesn't really make a big difference. But I am paying attention to my pelvis. As my leg reaches out, I'm not allowing my hip bones to shift. They should stay still the whole time. And as my leg is straightening, I'm trying to connect to the back of my leg, feeling my hamstring and my glute turn on a little bit, trying to avoid over gripping through my quad. There's that same sense of opposition as the legs reaching out, my pubic bone has to tension up. And I'll switch sides. Exhaling, reaching from the heel like the heel wants to touch the wall. And that sense of pressing out through your heel is going to help you connect into the back of your leg. Now here, there's also opposition happening in the waist. So if my left leg is reaching away, I have to think about tensioning my left hip bone to keep that side of my pelvis still. And as my knee comes back, I need to think about tensioning the right side of my waist. So left side as your left leg reaches out, right side as the leg reaches back in. And we'll put that foot down. So now we're going to go back to the first leg and we're going to reach the opposite arm up. We're going to do a dead bug or a soldier march or lots of different names for this exercise. You've probably seen it before. As you exhale, arm comes to the ear, leg reaches towards the wall. Inhale, drop back. But now I'm thinking about all this opposition that we've talked about. So my arm and leg are reaching towards the walls. My pubic bone and ribs are trying to draw together. So I'm reaching out and drawing in at the same time. All right, we're going to make this a little more confusing. My leg is going to keep doing the same thing. My arm is going to go out to the side. So leg reaches, arm opens out, and they come back. And then arm is going to come to the ear, leg opens out to the side. You can really limit your range on that leg opening out if you want. So exhale, inhale together. Exhale, open, inhale together. I have my hand on my ribs for some feedback, but if you need more stability, you can take your arm by your side. One more on this pattern, and we'll switch sides. So starting with the leg up, arm up, and we exhale, reach away, tightening through the center, inhale, drawing it back. We'll do two more. Now arm opens out to the side, leg keeps reaching towards the wall. Think about how the sides of the waist now have to contract to support you. And then arm comes to the ear, knee opens out to the side. Keep tightening through the base of the ribs. That's usually the first place that we fall out of connection. One more time. And arms can come to rest by your sides. We're going to do a few articulated bridges to warm up the spine. So here, I'm going to start with a deep breath. And as I exhale, I'm going to curl my pelvis. So I'm trying to flatten my low back into the mat, but I'm not pushing my feet down yet. And then I'm just going to relax. I'm going to do it again. Exhale, curling, drawing my belly button up and under my ribs, pulling my pubic bone towards my rib cage. As I've gotten into the deepest part of the curl that I can, then I start pressing my feet down, allowing my hips to lift up. I'm thinking about sending my knees out over my toes while I'm pulling my pubic bone up and in. When I've gotten as high as I can, I'm going to take a deep breath. And exhale, curl back down, reaching long through my spine, keeping my hips up as long as I can. Inhale as I land, and I'm going to do that again. Curling first. Peeling up, knees reaching over toes, shoulders down, fingers reaching towards heels, neck can be relaxed here. Make sure you're not letting your ribs pop up at the top of your bridge, and curl back down. And we'll do that one more time. Make sure your neck's staying relaxed. We're going to tuck our knees up into our chest. We're going to curl up and take both hands to the right leg. Your left leg is going to extend, and it can go as low or as high as you need to find support through your abdominals. So, if your leg's down here and you feel like it's pulling you into an arch, just lift it up higher. Your leg can point straight up to the ceiling. Wherever is work for you is the right amount of work. So here, we're going to take a deep breath, pull the knee in, and switch. One more, and rest. So if at any point your neck starts getting tired, you can always switch to bring your hands behind your head. That is totally fine. We want to think about looking at the belly button when we're in our curl up. which should help take some of the strain out of your neck. But if you need your hands to support you, use your hands to support you. So now both knees tucked into the chest. We're going to curl up again. This time you're thinking about reaching your fingertips towards your ankles. I'm tight through the belly here. Belly button is drawing up and under the ribs. I'm trying to flatten my abdominals. And I'm going to reach arms and legs away. Circle arms around, knees tuck in. I want my head and upper body to stay at the same height the whole time. We'll do 2 more. And I'm finding that same reach and opposition through my legs and my arms as we found earlier. So tighter through the center, reaching through the limbs. And rest. Next, we're going to do a scissor. So for scissors, all the same things only that we've been talking about. Tightness through the core, looking at your belly button, and now our legs are moving straight and opposite from each other. Now, you can hold your ankle as we do this, or the back of your knee, or your thigh, wherever you can reach. Or if your neck's getting tired, take your hands to the back of your head. Try to touch your toes to the wall. And you only need to go in a range where you have control. So if that's here, work there. Knees in and rest. Do a little rock from side to side here. We're going to bring the feet down, and we're going to take one hand behind the head. Your other hand is going to reach across your legs to the outside of your opposite knee. Now I want you to imagine somebody standing there, and you're trying to reach for them. So we're going to do a curl up with a twist. But that sense of reaching through my arm is what's lifting me up. I'm trying to keep my pelvis from twisting here, so I'm not going so far that my opposite butt starts to lift away from the mat. It should all be happening right through the waist. We'll do one more. And switch sides. So, reach for your friend. Butt stays down. We'll do 2 more. And then you can walk your feet out just a little bit wider than your hips. And do a little rock from side to side here, like windshield wipers. You can let your pelvis twist here, but let it be the last thing that moves rather than the first thing that moves. And then we're going to roll over on our sides. You can make a little pillow for your head with your arm. And we're going to stack our legs, having them a little bit in front of our hips at an angle. So we don't want to be in a straight line here. We want a little bit of an angle at the hips. Now my bottom waist is lifting away from the mat because I want my hip bones stacked right over each other. If I let myself collapse onto the mat, my top hip hikes way up. So there's a sense of reaching through your top hip to keep yourself stacked. I want my ribs connected, finding that tension through my pubic bone. My top hand can support me, or if this is feeling easy, I can bring it to my hip. But the important part is that we stay balanced, that we're not wobbling forward and backwards. Now my top leg is going to lift up just to hip height. I'm going to flex my foot and draw it up, point my toe, and press it back. Now as I do this, my pelvis stays still. So that's where the support and balance from the top hand comes into play. Can I do this without doing that? Yeah? Can we allow the thigh to move in the socket of the hip without the pelvis getting involved? And if you feel like you can do that, you can take your top hand to the hip. We'll do one more. And then we'll bring our legs back to stack, and my top leg is going to turn out. So I'm trying to twist my hip in the socket, knee and toe pointing up at the ceiling. I'm going to slide my toe up my leg, straighten my knee, flex my foot, and draw down. Point my toe, draw it up, flex my foot, draw it down.
Accidentally on purpose, or it was beating Maria.
And then we'll reverse. Flexing up, pointing, bending the knee, straightening down. Flexing up, pointing, bending the knee, straightening down. Let's do one more. And then we're going to keep the legs straight and lift and lower. Now here, it's really tempting to let the pelvis rock to feel like you've gone farther. Yeah, look at how high my leg goes if I let myself roll back. But when I'm staying really strict, it only goes to there. And then we're going to do one last thing here, which is a little bit terrible. You're going to bring your top leg up, turn your heel towards the ceiling, like you're trying to point your knee at the floor, and lift your heel up 10 times. Make sure you're keeping your ribs in, and rest. And you can bend the knee here and give yourself a little twist. It's really awful. I'm really tired right here. And then we'll switch sides. So getting set up, make a little pillow, legs are in front, lift the leg to hip height, we're flexing forward and pointing back. Hand at the hip to monitor the pelvis, or hand in front of you to help with balance. Pay attention to your ribs. They might want to lift up here. Pay attention to your low back. It might be trying to help. And we'll bring the legs back to stacked. Turn out the top leg, point the foot, raise it up, straighten the leg, flex it down. Trying to keep our hip bones stacked and pointing forward. We'll reverse. Flexing up, pointing, bending, tracing out. We'll do one more. And then we'll go up and down, reversing the foot, pointing up and flexing down. And then we'll do the last horrible thing, leg out, heel up, and we lift for 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let that knee bend and turn into a little bit of a twist. Whew. Oh, my booty's feeling it. All right, let's come all the way out of that and come up onto our hands and knees. So here, we want hands right under the shoulders, knees under hips. We're spreading our fingers and gripping the ground. And you want to make sure your knuckles are staying connected with the mat, so you're not letting your hand kind of cup up and lift. Think about trying to close the pits of your arm and press into your knuckles. Pits of your elbows are pointing forward. So we're going to work on an arm and leg reach here, but we're going to think about this a little bit first. So my spine is pretty neutral. My back is flat, but I'm not tucked. I'm going to pick a side. I'm choosing my left hand and my right leg. And they're going to try to push into the ground more, like I'm pushing the ground away. And I'm going to see if I can get my right hand and my left knee to hover. And then they come back. And I switch sides, pushing so hard that the other side lifts, as opposed to trying to lift my hand and leg away from the ground. So pushing, pushing, pushing to hover, pushing to hover, and there's all this work that's happening in my low abdominals while I do that. This is almost like baby learning how to crawl. So once that feels good, I'm going to push and hover, and I'm going to slide opposite arm and leg out. They don't come off the ground, and they slide right back in. Push, hover, slide and reach, come back in. Now I know that I've got doing this satisfactorily if I can do it without needing to wiggle to get my leg back underneath me. So I'm pushing, I'm reaching, and my hand and knee just slide back, and nothing in my back changes. My neck should be long here. I'm still trying to pull my shoulders down away from my ears the whole time. Now I'm going to go back to the first side, push, hover, reach, and I lift. I'm only lifting as high as I can without moving my back. And switch sides. Reset shoulders. Push, hover, reach, and lift. Finding opposition through your belly. And take that hand in. We can sit back on the heels. Roll out the wrists a little bit. They're probably getting a little tired. And then we're going to come back to our hands and knees. And we're going to do a little articulation through the spine. So rolling the shoulders down away from the ears. Gripping the ground with the fingers. We'll start in the pelvis. Curling the tail, flexing the low back, mid back, upper back, and lifting the tail, extending low back, mid back, pull your chest through your arms, head comes up. Add in that opposition from the hands, hands pushing forward while we curl. Hands pulling back while we lift the tail, chest through the arms. And we'll go one more time. Now we're a little movement into this. So I'm going to sit back on my heels, and that's bringing me into a round back. My head drops down. I'm going to stay curled, drawing up through my belly. I'm going to lift my hips up and then press them forward and come into a little extension. You can adjust if you need to find a good spot for your body. And then I'm going to drop my head, round my back, and sit back on my heels. Rounding up, extending out, head drops down, round to sit back. We're going to do one more time in that direction, and then we're going to make it into a little bit of a wave. So rounding up, rounding back. So now I'm going to stay rounding up, but then from extension, I'm going to try to stay in extension, let my butt pull me back until it drops down to round. And then I round forward, butt pulls me back. One more time like this. And then, more challenging, I'm going to try to go forward in extension. So from here, I lift my head. I bring my chest up and through. My butt is out. I drop my head. I round to pull back. Lift the head. Chest draws through the arms. Keep lifting up through your belly button here. Drop the head around the back. Push to sit back. We'll do this one more time. Head up. Chest through the arms. Coming all the way forward. Head down, around the back, drawing up through the belly to sit back on the heels. One more time, you can sit all the way up. Roll out the wrists. And we're going to come back onto the hands. We're going to tuck the toes, hover the knees, and push up into a down dog here. You might walk your feet in just a tiny bit. Nice big push. Push into your hands like you're trying to push yourself onto your feet. Sits bones towards the ceiling. And we're going to walk the hands back to the feet till we're standing. Curl your pelvis to roll all the way up. And then we're going to roll down. Deep breath. Drop the head. Arms are hanging. Walk the hands forward. Find your down dog. And we're going to bring one leg between the hands. Come up into a high lunge. Hands at the hips. And we're going to bend our knees and stand up. Here I'm trying to keep my torso upright. So I'm not leaning forward as I bend my knees. My pelvis is staying in one place and I'm just going up and down. We'll do one more. And then I'm going to bring my hands back down by my foot. I'm going to bring that leg back. Reach my hips to the sky. Walk my hands to the feet. Curl the pelvis. Roll all the way up. We'll do that one more time. Drop the head. Roll through the spine. Walk your hands out to find your down dog. Press through the hands, hips to the ceiling, and then bring your other leg up to find your hands. We'll stand up here and up and down. Good. Shoulders staying over the pelvis. Tension through your belly. And I'm really thinking about pushing my front foot into the ground as I straighten my leg. And then I'll reach forward, hands by the foot, bring that leg back, press your sits bones to the ceiling, walk your hands back to your feet, curl the pelvis, stack yourself up, and we'll take a deep breath, sweep the arms up to the ceiling, and relax them down. And I've got one more thing. So here, I'm going to use this thing, my reformer, to put my foot on. And we're going to stand with our knees about together, standing on one leg. We're going to do this on both sides, and it is going to feel profoundly different from one side to the other. So just pay attention to that. For me, standing on my left foot with my right leg up is so much easier than the other side. Make sure you're not too close to the thing you have your foot on. So like I said, it could be a couch, an ottoman, a bookshelf, the wall, anything where you can have your shin about parallel to the ground. And again, I want my knees about in line with each other. We're going to do a standing articulation. So my arms are relaxed. I'm going to take a deep breath, drop my head, and roll down, trying to move one vertebra at a time until I'm all the way down. And then I'm going to curl my pelvis, press through my leg to stand up. We're going to do 3 on each leg. Deep breath in and roll down. And this one, really just do your best. It's kind of weird and hard, kind of confusing, kind of hard to balance. Do whatever you can. We'll do one more on this leg. And then we'll switch sides. So this was my embarrassing side, so I'll try not to fall. Make sure your arms are relaxed. Weight on your heel more than on your toe if you can. And we'll drop the head and roll down. Deep breath at the bottom. Curl your pelvis to roll up. Well, that wasn't too embarrassing. We'll do 2 more. There you go. That's my Pilates Flow movement snack. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions or if you have any requests. I'm here for it. I've got nothing else to do. I hope you're all taking care of yourselves. Take a shower, take a walk, eat something green. I'll see you next time.